back to the Peacock Knits podcast. This is episode 2 and my name is Heather. I'm so happy that episode 1 is out of the way. It felt super awkward to do introductions and show things to you when you have no idea who I am, but I'm feeling so much more relaxed and I'm so excited to get on the road with episode number 2. I'm going to address the elephant in the room right off the bat, because otherwise, like, why else would I be wearing half a sweater? I am so excited. So spoiler alert, I don't have any finished objects to share with you this week, and that is because the Sunset Highway sweater by Caitlin Hunter, this has been taking all my attention, all my time, all my attention. I'm embarrassed to show you my laundry pile right now. I've been knitting it pretty much anytime I have a moment. And it's not my first color work project, but I'm not super fast at color work. So that's why I don't have any other knit projects this week. But check this out. I don't think I could have matched these colors better if I had dyed them myself using the same dye lot. But look, I'm so happy. I just want to wear it yesterday. I wish I was wearing it yesterday. This sweater, I'm loving it. I just love it. So I love the fact that there were short rows in the back. So it just kind of fits so nicely back there. And now I'm on to basically a sea of stockinette. So what happens now is I'm about 1 inch away from separating the sleeves. And then I'm gonna just knit straight with the main color forever. So I'm really happy that that's where I'm at, because as I mentioned in episode 1, I'm a social knitter, so I really love having a project on the go for when I'm visiting with friends or on the bus or at a party or just anywhere. And I often do socks with quite a bit of patterning, and so even though they're small and portable, they're often not a social knit. So I'm really excited about the sweater. I'm going to show you the yarn that I've been using. And I really hope it comes through, because I am in love with every single yarn that I chose for this project. The main kind of contrast color here, this kind of brownish goldish color, is Tuscan Knits in her Deadlock colorway. Let's see, really, there we go. It is like, I actually don't have words to describe this color. It's coming in pretty close for my screen here, but it is a real mix of mustard tones, navy, and then some browns. So because of the yellow and the blue, you end up with a bit of an olive in some cases, or a grayish mustard. But the depth of color, the depth of color in this skein has just blown my mind at every stitch. And sometimes I don't even know how she did it. I've never worked actually with a yarn that just seems so in depth in terms of its color. It is beautiful, and it's very soft. So that's the main contrast color. This was gifted to me by my friend in France. Bonjour! She's just the best. I always say her name wrong. Deborah. I'm sure it's butchered every time. Merci, Deborah. Deborah. Yeah, so this is her Deadlock colorway. High twist sock. Then the next color I chose to go with this one is Artfill in their Fireworks colorway. Artfill, Bella. This one is an 80-20 split. But yeah, and I forgot to mention that the Tuscan Knits is also an 80-20. Everything I chose is 80-20. So this main color, this Artfill, is cream with speckles in it. And the speckles are a mix of kind of orangey red, some navy colors, and then like a brownish, bluish gold color. It's kind of like all the colors mixed together, which matches perfectly with the bluish, goldish color here, see? So I picked these two first. And then I used this skein to come up with the two kind of contrast pops of color. And I really wanted something variegated, not too solid. And so the colors that I went with there are Zen Yarn Garden. So the kind of reddish pinkish tone in here is kind of peachy. And this one is a very red and orange, reddish orange variegated color. However, there are some peachy tones in it. And so although it's not a perfect match combined, I just thought they looked so nice together. And this one here, this Zen Yarn Garden, is their Serenity 20. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. This one isn't an 80-20. This is a 70% superwash, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon. So a little cashmere merino here. Yeah, and the cashmere, like close to this delicate skin here, and the chest has just been so lovely. Because I will say that the Tuscan knits is a little less soft up against like this delicate part of the skin compared to some of the others, but because of the color work. So yeah, so you can see my two skeins of Fireworks are slightly different. This one's been caked, and then as I was caking this one, I was like, oh no, it looks very different. So I wound it just to kind of take a peek, but I think it's gonna be fine. You can see this one's a little lighter, this one seems a little darker, but then because of the way it's dyed, I think it's gonna work out. I'm not going to alternate skeins for this sweater. I know it's a no-no, but my least favorite thing is alternating skeins. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fade one ball into the next when it's time to change them. So there might be a slight difference. The top might end up fading into a slightly darker speckle. So we'll see if I regret that. And if I do regret it, if I really don't like it, I am prepared to rip it back. But the thought of alternating skeins for the amount of sweater I have to knit it with, I just couldn't even fathom the thought of it. So I'm fingers crossed I didn't make a horrible mistake. The two colorways here are Marigold and Avatar. Those were the colors for these ones here. And you can already see that honestly, it couldn't be a better match even if I had it custom dyed together, because the reds really, the red speckles really match the red, and the blues, let's see if I can find one, really match the blue. And then the little gold specks match the gold. Ugh! Love it. And as I said before in my first episode, that I really do tend to lean towards the kind of primary colorways, and that's kind of what ended up happening here too. And I didn't even mean to do that. I really love mustard tones, and this was a gift, and I wanted to use it for this sweater, and then this just came along, and then all of a sudden I had a primary colorway sweater here. I'm currently storing it in my bag that I have shared on my Instagram before. This is kind of a little bucket. My sister made this for me as a custom present one time, but she just made me the most beautiful present. She made this for me last Christmas. It's square on the bottom. It has a cream colored canvas on the inside, as well as lots of pockets, and I can store like everything in it. Everything fits. So should I just leave this on? I'm using my Luca needles. They're just the original one in the driftwood colorway. Driftwood. Size 4 US, 3.5 millimeter. And actually, I don't know for those of you who have these needles, I've heard the same thing from a lot of people, and it was my personal experience that the cords are not amazing. And these days, with so many amazing circular needles and cords and so many amazing options with all these different new materials, I was surprised that the Laine needles didn't have something a little bit more unique or a little bit less thick, and they hold the memory, and they get all coiled, and I haven't been able to soften them up, but they do, in case you didn't know, they are compatible with knit picks. So they're compatible with the knit picks cords. So what I did is I already had a knit picks interchangeable set, which I was going to get rid of once I upgraded to my Laine needles, but I said I'm just going to hang on to these anyways, and the cords fit. And you know, it's happened before where something's happened to a needle and I could use a spare, so I'm keeping my set. But they are compatible with these, so I've started using my Laine needles with knit picks cords, and I could not be happier. So in case you didn't know and you are irritated by your cord quality like I was with my Laine needles, then these cost like $1.99 US. They're really not, I mean, once you add $11 shipping to get them here to Canada, that's a little bit of a different story. So I just wait till there's an order happening and then I place some orders. A couple of other little things that I have in this bag that are some of my favorite things. This is my Notions pouch, my current Notions pouch of record. Jezebel B. She has an Etsy store, and you can also often buy her stuff on Espace Tricot site. But it's so fun. It sits flat just like this, and then when you open it, it has a really good piece of Velcro, and then it just sits open. So you have all your tools at your disposal when you're on the sofa or at the table or whatever. Yeah, you could just put all your stuff in. And honestly, I've had nothing fall out of it. I will say that I did have some loose stitch markers, and they were not too happy in this here. They still fell out every once in a while, but I usually keep my stitch markers now in little tins or little pouches, so I haven't had too many problems. Yeah, so I've got my tape measure, my scissors, I've got a crochet hook, the whole deal. So that's one treasure that I have in this bag. Another thing I picked up that I really like is this handy gauge ruler by Ann Budd Knits. What I love about this ruler is it has a regular ruler on it, but it's specifically to help you with your gauge. So you just take your knitted garment and you hold up, hold up the stitches to your stitches, and it tells you your gauge. My mind is blown. I mean, not that it's hard for me to take my ruler or my tape measure and hold it up and see how many stitches per inch I have, but it's kind of fun to just slide this up along my stitches and see how it goes. So anyways, Ann Budd Knits. This is such a handy thing, really inexpensive. Boop. The last thing I'll show you that I have in here, and I usually buy my project bags from her. This is Crochet Knit 1, Crochet 1 Knit 2. Yeah, Crochet 1 Knit 2. She makes the most beautiful little project bags, and these are my current favorite things she makes, which are these little yarn baskets. They're like a single skein basket. So for doing color work or a pair of socks, like it holds a skein of yarn, no problem. It just sits in there. Oh, nice little, well, see? So you have socks, they'll fit in there, and then it just closes with a snap. They're smaller than your average sized sock project bag. They're quite small, but they're also fairly inexpensive. I won't say what the price is because things change and I don't want to quote a price when that's not it, but I will tell you they're very cost effective and very well made. This is one of her scrappy ones, so it has kind of like a little patchwork design, but she has the cutest fabrics. So cute. Yeah, so it's great, but I love it because in this bag I can use a couple of these yarn cake baskets and separate my balls of yarn that I'm using, and they just kind of stay put. So that's my favorite thing in here. Yeah. Sunset Highway. Love it. So I told you I don't have any finished objects. I showed my monkey socks, my no purl monkey socks last week, and I've made zero progress on those. So I'm not even going to show them off to you. And I really like to keep these podcasts at half an hour or under. So I'm not going to just drag out old projects that have nothing new to show. So I'm going to show you a couple of acquisitions that I got. And again, I don't always have new acquisitions either, but I did something. I did something that I don't regret, but I certainly didn't mean to do it. One of my current absolute 100% favorite yarn lines is Lichen and Lace. They're a brand out of Canada. She makes the most beautiful fingering weight yarns, in my opinion. And my local yarn store often has Lichen and Lace in stock. However, it goes very fast. And so this happened. I was on Instagram, and Lichen and Lace posted that she had a kind of one of a kind or a limited run. She had 4 skeins of this yarn, which is called Speckle Pink. It's very much like a rose gold. It's in her 80-20 sock, so 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and the color is very much like a rose gold. It has kind of a dusty rose color. There's dark and lighter shades. There are some gold streaks and speckles throughout, as well as some darker speckles here. Very little dark speckles. The dark is extremely minimal. See? And I just fell in love. I thought it was a very romantic color. I thought it was a very, I don't even usually go for pinks, but I thought it was kind of a very, a feminine, soft, kind of old romantic color. I don't know why. I'm not usually drawn to this type of color. Maybe it was the mustard in it, but I wanted it. So I saw her post, which had only been posted 15 minutes earlier, and they were sold. So at first I was glad because, you know, I didn't really plan on just buying 4 skeins of yarn that day, and budget-wise, that didn't really fit in my budget. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I felt so bummed that I missed out on that yarn purchase. So then she sent me an email the following week saying, we have a limited run on our site right now. And I pretty much dropped what I was doing and bought 3. So it's not 4, but I have 3. I have decided to kind of, with respect to my yarn purchases this year, I would really like to limit my purchases to more like sweater quantities or to near sweater quantities for larger projects, because I have a lot of single skeins that I would love to use. And although I can't guarantee that I'll keep that promise this year, I would like to purchase more of the larger things so I can use some of those as well. So I can both buy some new yarn here and there, but also use some of what I have in my stash. I think I'm also going to try to limit my purchases this year to some of the major festivals, see things, touch them for myself, and also maybe get some things that are harder for me to acquire in person. So this was my acquisition for this episode. I could not be happier about that purchase. I do not regret it. I didn't buy a lot actually, but I will show off my pins. These are from the Fat Squirrel. I've got my Elizabeth Zimmerman pin. I've been wanting one of these, and then she posted that she wasn't going to have any online for quite some time. So I said, oh, I'm just going to do it. Plus her Fat Squirrel pin. He says, yo, he's sparkly. Looks so good on my bag. This bag also has, there's a lot of room for pins on this bag, so I usually put pins on it, but I've got my Grocery Girls pin as well. And this one's from Twill and Print. It says yarn. Oh, come on now. Focus up. Focus up. Come on. Yarnaholic. It's got 2 skeins. And actually, I got this Yarnaholic pin from her second sale. And I actually can't even find a flaw in it. I love second sales because, you know, my pins get beat up. My bags get tossed on the floor. I've got kids. I've got dogs. Love my pins. The other thing I picked up, oh yeah, Elizabeth Zimmerman reminds me. I got this Elizabeth Zimmerman pin because my favorite book to have on hand is Elizabeth Zimmerman's Knitter's Almanac. Now, I get a kick out of this book. This book is hilarious. It almost feels like you're reading a comedic piece, and so I recommend it. I've had this copy now for many years, and I picked it up secondhand. It's not a new book. I mean, this was published in 1974, 1981. So, I mean, it's as old as I am. But it is just hilarious. It even says, to the unsure knitter, to the blind follower, and to all those who do not yet know that they can design their own knitting. I love it. One of the things that happens in this book that I thought, the main reason I love this book so much, and the main point of this book is that there's patterns for the full year, and there are some really beautiful and timeless pieces. You know, can you get more timeless than that for mittens? No. However, there are little gems, little tiny gems that Elizabeth Zimmerman has included in her writing that it kills me. One of the things that she wrote was during one of the patterns for a baby sweater. And in her pattern for the baby sweater and in the writing that she includes about the knitted piece is that she claims she doesn't believe that babies have any kind of sensitivity to wool. That if she were to be making a baby sweater for a baby, she would be tempted to knit the sweater out of a synthetic fiber, but include a small patch of wool in the knitted garment to see if the baby would end up having any kind of a reaction or a discomfort to the sweater with the wool in it as a kind of secret experiment on the babies. So that made me laugh. This book is so funny. The fact that somebody would say, oh, I don't believe that babies are sensitive to wool, so I'm just going to sneak in some wool and see what happens. So funny. So if you haven't read Elizabeth Zimmerman's Knitter's Almanac, I recommend it. Pick it up. Get it from the library. There's actually a lot of really great patterns in here, from baby sweaters to baby leggings to adult sweaters to mittens. The mittens are just adorable. So anyway, I keep this on my bedside table. If I feel like doing a little bit of reading, I usually pick this book up. I haven't read the full thing in years, but anyways, strongly recommend. So, Elizabeth Zimmerman, you get a pin. You get a pin. I get a pin. Everybody gets a pin. This is the other acquisition that I have to share with you for this week. I saw this as a limited run that Laine came out with. It's a little notebook. It says, My Knitting Notes. It's just a little book. I fell in love with it because it has a very vintage inspired feel to it. It has just, you know, the simple cover, because dust jackets are the bane of my existence. I'm the person that takes the dust jacket off their book and throws it away, which is not what you're supposed to do with dust jackets, but I don't like the feel of them. I don't like that I have to then take it off and put it somewhere where I'm going to lose it. I don't like dust jackets. So usually what happens is my dust jacket gets tossed in the recycle bin and I don't have the cover anymore. So this one has a very vintagey feel where it's really just kind of got the cloth, kind of a hardback cloth cover to it. And the writing is in gold, my knitting notes, and it's really cute. The paper is lovely. The paper is thick, like a creamy off-white color, and it is divided into a couple of different sections. It says for the love of wool. So it's divided into a section at the beginning, which provides you with kind of knitting needle sizes and references. It includes some abbreviations. The next section is my projects. So this acts very much like a Ravelry, your Ravelry project page. So it gives you a little spot to write the name of the project, who designed it, the yarn you used, the colorway, what needles, what size did you knit, and then a little spot for some notes about the pattern and when you cast on and when you finished the project. So I do try to keep my Ravelry projects up to date, but there is something so enjoyable about just writing it down on paper. And I thought it would be neat to just be able to go back through 2018 and see what I had accomplished. So I didn't go back and put in projects that were finished, well, mostly projects that were finished before New Year's, but it was pretty fun. So I put in my Vertices Unite by Stephen West that I showed off at the last episode. So this book is fun because it gives me a place to put all those yarn bands when I'm done with them. Because that's one thing about my Ravelry project page is, yeah, I can put the yarns that I used, and I just can't seem to throw out yarn bands. I know I'm not the only one, but they've just been kind of languishing around. So it gives me a place to put them when it's done. Yeah, so I put a couple of projects in. A couple of little yarn bands from... That's from a hat I made from Caitlin French, Vor, Goddess of Wisdom. And I did put my best self-striping rib socks in the world that I made, my Christmas socks that I was wearing last episode. I put that in here with my Cozy Knitter yarn band. And so apart from projects, so there's a large section for projects, and between each project page is a blank page. So the paper is very thick and I didn't have any problems with the ink running through, but I do love having that separation between them for yarn bands or for additional notes or just as a separator. And then once that's done, the other fun thing about it, and I have my little, it has a little gold colored bookmark, is, and so we'll see how happy I am by the end of the year about this, but yarn purchases. So it gives you a spot to put what you bought, how many, and how much you paid. So January was a little rough for me because since I was on a yarn diet all last year, I kind of went crazy when the new year hit. But the rest of the year shouldn't be as bad. But yeah, I put in all my yarn purchases so far for the year. And then there's a little bit of graph paper if you're doing some designing or coming up with some color work patterns or whatever. So yeah, this one, my knitting notes. I'm probably going to podcast again towards the end of February. And for episode number 3, I'm planning to have a giveaway because I know it's pretty tough getting through the first couple of episodes of a podcast. It feels pretty awkward. It's starting to kind of catch my stride and I'm really enjoying it. So in episode 3, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. I've already got a lovely little package that's been put together. Some of the things are some of my favorite things that I've purchased to give to you because I would really love to share the love. And then I've also received a couple of items through some of my favorite makers as a way to also help with that giveaway. So I'm really excited. I hope to see you soon. Give me a big thumbs up or hit subscribe, whatever you'd like, or just send me a little note. So thanks again for tuning in and have a great day. Bye-bye.